I want to speak to all of you about the importance of silence in our life, also referred to sometimes as quietude. One of the problems with our prayer lives is that we often spend a good much of our time telling God what we need, rather than listening to what God has for us. The scriptures make it clear that God speaks to us in silence, and yet most of us have our lives so cluttered with noise, with music, with the television, with email, checking our email, and all of the other things, but we don't have time for just sitting in silence before the throne of God. The fathers tell us that God has heard our prayers even before we existed. He knew who we were even before the world was created. So it's not like we have to tell him everything. But when we are wanting to have a relationship with God, it's important that we are listening to God. One of the greatest assets that we have as Orthodox Christians is the Jesus prayer. Lord Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy on me, a sinner. I've directed my thoughts about this prayer in a previous video, so I'm not going to go into this now. But I will say that all of us need to have time alone with God. A good place to begin is by lighting our lampada in front of our home icons when we are alone and just sitting in silence. I remember an elderly Greek couple in Tacoma, Washington, many years ago, who had their prayer corner or their icon corner with all their household icons concentrated into a closet just off their living room. And I remember when they opened that door and I saw that lampada lit there and all these icons there in their prayer books. And they shared with me how sometimes together, but usually separate from one another, they would go in there and they would sit. And they would do their prayer rule, which for them consisted of using the prayer book for the morning and evening prayers, and also the Jesus prayer. But they both used that time in the closet in silence, just sitting there in the presence of God. As we begin the year 2020, let's make that as a new commitment to stop talking so much and start listening to God, and let God enter into our hearts. Through the prayers of our Holy Fathers, Lord Jesus Christ, our God, have mercy on us and save us.